All right, so picture this. You're home at 2 a.m. You hear glass breaking downstairs. Your kids are asleep. Police are 15 minutes away. What do you do?
That's the nightmare scenario that millions of Americans think about. And it's exactly why we're talking about self-defense as a fundamental human right today.
Welcome to the deep dive. We're taking a closer look today at something really personal, something vital, the right to defend yourself. And it's not just theoretical, is it?
Not at all.
I mean, this literally happened last week in Minneapolis. We saw exactly why people feel this need, this urgency for protection. Children praying at Annunciation Catholic School. A shooter opened fire. It just drives home that sometimes, in those awful moments, you are the first responder.
Exactly. And this deep dive today, it's really about understanding this right to self-defense, not just like the laws on the books, but what it means fundamentally as a human imperative.
Yeah.
We're going to explore what it really means for you.
Okay, so when you say fundamental human right,
Mm-hmm.
that's the part that jumps out. Because I think most people, probably me included, think of self-defense like, okay, state laws, maybe the Second Amendment here in the States. But you're saying it's bigger than that, older.
Oh, absolutely. Much bigger, much older. Look, the right to self-defense isn't some, American invention from 1791. Its roots go way deeper than the U.S. Constitution.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, think about Article 3 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It says, everyone has the right to life, liberty, and security of person. Now, international legal scholars, they look at that and they broadly agree that this includes the right to defend your life, your liberty, your security when they're threatened. It's baked right in.
Huh. So it's not just some academic idea. It's like foundational in these major global documents.
It is. It's seen as natural law. Philosophers, guys like Cicero, John Locke, they recognized this centuries ago. It's this basic inherent right of any living thing to preserve itself. When the UN drafted the UDHR back in 1948, right after World War II, it was understood the right to life doesn't mean much if you don't have the right to defend that life.
That makes total sense when you put it that way.
And it's stuck. The International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, it explicitly affirmed self-defense. And the idea that you can't just arbitrarily take a life, well, that's considered just cogence.
Just cogence. What's that?
It's a fundamental principle of international law. So fundamental, like the ban on genocide, that no country can just decide, nah, we don't recognize that. You can't deviate. So this idea, you have the right to defend yourself. It isn't just American. It's universal.
Wow.
Right?
You have the right to is universal.
Okay.
That changes the frame completely. But, okay, if it's this fundamental universal right, why are we even, needing to talk about it so much? What's the practical side for Americans facing danger right now?
Yeah.
Because a declaration isn't going to stop a threat.
Right. And that's where it gets, well, very real. Because that universal right doesn't change the fact that when danger hits, you are often completely on your own for those first critical minutes.
Yeah.
Take Sarah in Detroit. Example. 2:47 a.m., glass breaks downstairs. She calls 911. Police get there 14 minutes and 30 seconds later. And that's pretty much the average for a priority 1 call there.
14 and a half minutes.
Yeah. Now, just try to imagine how long that feels. You're upstairs, maybe with kids, hearing noises downstairs. 14 minutes it's an eternity.
It's terrifying just thinking about it. I always kind of pictured, 5 minutes, maybe.
Well, most people don't realize how long it actually takes. It's one of those things you don't think about until you need it.
So what are the times like?
Okay, here's what's actually happening with police response times nationally. The average for priority calls, the really serious ones, is about 10 minutes. But that average hides a lot.
How so?
Well, you've got places like New Orleans where the average time recently was reported as high as 146 minutes for some calls.
146 minutes. Are you serious? That's over 2 hours.
Up from 51 minutes just a few years back. Or think about rural areas. Easily over 30 minutes. Sometimes, like in parts of rural Alaska, it can be several hours.
Hours? That's insane. I mean, what are people supposed to do for that long? How can you possibly wait that long?
It's the reality in some places. Now, other cities are better, sure. Chicago, around 3.5 minutes for high priority. New York City, maybe 7.5 minutes. But even 3, 4, 7 minutes, that's still a long time when someone's breaking down your door.
Yeah, no kidding. Why is it getting worse?
A big reason is staffing. A 2023 analysis showed response times went up in most big cities because, frankly, there aren't enough officers on patrol. Lots of high-priority 911 calls get delayed just because there's nobody free to send. It's a resource issue. They physically can't be everywhere at once.
So, okay. Police might be minutes, maybe lots of minutes, maybe even hours away.
Mm-hmm.
What happens when people do have to step up, when they have to protect themselves right then and there?
And they do. Americans are facing these types of situations every single day. Look at Omaha, January 2025. This guy, unnamed, is outside a nightclub, sees someone just open fire on the crowd.
Oh my God.
He had a legal firearm. He drew it, returned fire, stopped the attacker, killed him, saved lives. The county attorney, Don Klein, said flat out he was actually protecting everybody at that location.
Yeah.
No charges filed.
Wow. Just an ordinary guy. Prevented a massacre, sounds like.
It seems so. Or take the shop owners in Houston, also 2025. They'd had break-ins, saw a burglar on their cameras, confronted him. He got aggressive. The male owner retreated like 20 feet, but the guy kept coming, cornered him, fired once. Self-defense.
Huh?
No charges. The burglar survived. And look, the data shows this happens way more than we hear about. Defensive gun uses estimates range wildly, from 60,000 times a year up to maybe 2.5 million.
Whoa. That's a massive range. 60,000 to 2.5 million.
Yeah, it depends a lot on how you ask the questions, who you ask. But even the low end is a huge number of people defending themselves. Think about Palmer, the Ohio cab driver, in 2024. Had a drunk, violent passenger from a casino. Palmer defended himself, went to the Ohio Supreme Court and said, yep, he had every right.
So the common thread seems to be, these aren't vigilantes, they're just regular folks who were forced into it.
Exactly. Not looking for trouble. Trouble found them. Ordinary people in extraordinary, terrifying circumstances.
Wait, hold up. So people are doing this, they're defending themselves. But what are the actual rules, like legally?
Yeah.
Because it feels like a minefield. What can you do?
It definitely can feel complicated, and it varies state by state, but there are some key concepts. Let's start with the castle doctrine. You've heard your home is your castle, right?
Yeah, sure.
Well, that's basically law everywhere. All 50 states recognize it. Maybe it's a specific law. Maybe it's case law from courts. But the principle holds. It means, generally, if someone unlawfully breaks into your home, you don't have a duty to try and run away inside your own house. Even in a state like Massachusetts, which normally has a duty to retreat, if Elena is in her home, that duty doesn't apply to an intruder.
Okay, that makes intuitive sense. Your home, your safe space. But what about outside? On the street, parking lot, whatever?
That's where you get into stand your ground laws. 38 states have these. Basically, if you're somewhere you're legally allowed to be and you're facing what you reasonably believe is a lethal threat, you don't have to try and escape first before using force, even deadly force, to protect yourself.
So like Marcus in Indianapolis you mentioned.
Yeah.
If he's attacked, he doesn't have to turn his back and run.
Under Indiana's stand your ground law, generally, no. He can defend himself right there.
Now, the other places, 11 states plus D.C., they're duty to retreat states.
Like Massachusetts, you said. Right. Connecticut, Delaware, New York, Maryland, others too. In public, in those states, the law says you must try to retreat, to get away safely, before you resort to deadly force. The big difference, legally.
Definitely sounds like it. Knowing which rule applies where you live seems pretty critical.
Absolutely critical. It goes back to what Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes said way back in 1921, something like, detached reflection cannot be demanded in the presence of an uplifted knife. You don't have time for legal analysis when you're under attack.
Yeah, uplifted knife. That paints a picture.
Right.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about these situations, the laws, often involving firearms. But here's the thing. Not everyone wants a gun or can have one. Is self-defense only about firearms?
Oh, not at all. Not even close. Self-defense is way broader. Honestly, your first best defense is always going to be situational awareness. Just, paying attention, avoiding trouble before it starts.
Okay, makes sense. Be smart, be aware.
Beyond that, lots of options. For your home, security systems are huge. The data shows homes with systems are like 300% less likely to be burglarized.
300%.
Wow.
Yeah. Reinforce your doors, your windows. 34% of burglars just walk in the front door. Motion sensor lights. Big deterrent. 60% of burglars say lights make them skip a house.
Simple stuff, but effective. What about personal defense?
Well, a dog can be a great deterrent and alarm system.
Definitely. Mine goes nuts if a leaf blows funny.
Exactly. Then you have things like pepper spray, tasers, non-lethal tools. And of course, there's training. Martial arts, self-defense classes, they give you skills, confidence. Look, you have the right to prepare yourself in lots of ways. It's not just about firearms. It's about being ready, feeling empowered.
Prepared, not paranoid. I like that. But, we're talking about defending homes, and I still think most people don't realize how often homes are violated. It feels like a rare event, but is it?
It's disturbingly common. The stats say a burglary happens in the U.S. every 26 seconds.
Every 26 seconds.
Yep. That's about 2.5 million a year. Now, reported burglaries in 2022 were lower, around 847,000, but over half of those, 52.8%, were homes, residential burglaries.
Still a huge number.
And here's the really scary part. In over a quarter of those home burglaries, 27.6%, someone is home when it happened.
Oh, man.
And in 7% of those cases where someone's home, it turns violent. And these guys are fast. In and out in 8, maybe 10 minutes, often faster than police can possibly get there.
Faster than the response times we were just talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, so that connects back to the defensive gun use numbers, the DGUs. You mentioned the huge range, 60K to 2.5 million. And I know those numbers are controversial.
They are. The data shows defensive gun uses happen far more often than many people realize or maybe want to admit. There was that incident where the CDC actually removed those DGU statistics from their website back in 2022.
Why?
Apparently, after pressure from some gun control groups who felt the numbers, especially the higher ones, made it harder to argue for more restrictions. There were emails revealed, like from Mark Bryant at the Gun Violence Archive, basically saying that 2.5 million number needs to be killed because it hurts their cause.
Wow. So actively trying to shape the data, or at least hide it. It raises questions, for sure. But Gary Kleck, the criminologist whose work supports those higher numbers, makes a key point. Most DGUs don't involve actually shooting anyone. He says the vast majority involve threatening or displaying a gun to stop an attack. Just showing the weapon is often enough.
The deterrent factor.
Exactly. And, all this talk about relying on police, we have to remember the legal reality. The Supreme Court has ruled multiple times, like in Shawnee v. Winnebago County and Castle Rock v. Gonzales, that the police do not have a constitutional duty to protect any specific individual person from crime.
Wait, really? No duty to protect. That sounds wrong.
It sounds counterintuitive, but legally, their duty is to the public at large, not necessarily to you personally in a specific moment of danger. It means, ultimately, your safety is your responsibility.
That puts a fine point on it.
Which brings us back to being prepared, given everything we've talked about, the right itself, the real-world response times, the actual threats people face, the laws, knowing your rights, and how to act responsibly within them is just crucial. And there's help out there for figuring this stuff out.
Right, like the American Human Rights Initiative Foundation. They actually track cases where self-defense rights might have been violated. Right, and they help people understand this stuff.
Exactly. The American Human Rights Initiative Foundation is a great resource. If you want to learn more about your specific rights in your state castle doctrine details, stand your ground rules, non-lethal options, all of it, check out their website, AmericanHumanRightsInitiativeFoundation.org.
AmericanHumanRightsInitiativeFoundation.org.
Yeah. They provide free resources on legal self-defense, helping people just understand what their rights actually are before they ever need to exercise them.
And it's a nonprofit, right?
Yeah.
So if people want to support that work, help make sure everyone understands these fundamental rights.
You can do that. You can support their work at givebutter.com/GC53X0. Helping them helps ensure people have access to this vital information.
givebutter.com/2C53X0. Okay, look, nobody wants to be in that situation we started with, right? That nightmare scenario.
Yeah.
But having the right to protect yourself, protect your family, when there's absolutely no other choice, that's not controversial. That's human.
And knowing your rights before you need them is absolutely crucial. So head to AmericanHumanRightsInitiativeFoundation.org. Learn what applies in your state. Get informed.
Because when seconds count.
The police are minutes away. Stay safe out there.